This is our confirmation / Bible study series. It's open to all, young and old. It's an 8-week class. 2 weeks ago, we started with what is the nature of God. We didn't get to the end, so we're going to finish what is the nature of God tonight. And then our next class will be on what is the nature of salvation. We'll move from there to talk about what is the will of God. The BCN Change Process is week 5, and then week 6 is what is the nature of sin. Week 7 is Individualism and the Western Worldview, and week 8 is BCN Theology 101, where we'll revisit the components of Black Christian nationalism. A lot of people think, and I'm talking about people who've been in the church for 97 years, think that Black Christian nationalism is the book that Jeremiah wrote in 1972. But what they fail to understand is that book was based on a whole lot of research and study, which far exceeds what's in that little book. So Black Christian nationalism is a theological worldview, and it's a philosophical worldview that contains politics, religion, science, and all of the other ways of understanding the universe. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
So we're going to revisit that on week 8. Okay, so we left off last time talking about God power. I think we got to the end of the front of our handout. Anybody was not here last time, didn't get a handout? Okay, so we talked about the African concept of God. A lot of what we believe about God today is rooted in traditional African theology, even though we don't know that. And just to give you some quick examples from the book, Introduction to African Religion by John S. Mbyiu, he says this. Exactly who is God? What is he like? What makes him truly God? African people all agree that nobody has seen God. Therefore, nobody can really describe God. Yet, through their religious insights, they have formulated certain ideas about the nature of God. These ideas concern his being, that which differentiates him from the things he has made. For example, all Africans believe God is good. God is described as being good. He is not only the maker of all things, but he is good towards all people and all things. People reach their conclusion from observing what God gives them and how readily he may be approached. Okay, so in many African countries, they have sayings like God is good, God never does wrong. In Liberia, they say God causes rain to pour down on our fields and the sun to shine upon us. Because he does these things, we say God is good. And Ghana people look at the works of God and say God is good because he has never withdrawn from us the good things which he gave us. Okay, so we say that all the time. God is good all the time. That's an Africanism. We don't know that, but maybe if we knew that, we'd stop saying it. But African people developed that concept thousands and thousands of years ago. God is merciful. It's widely believed that God is merciful and kind. There are many African words that describe God as the God of pity, the merciful one, the kind one, the God of mercy. In pronouncements and blessings across Africa, people say, may the God of mercy go with you. God have mercy on us. The mercy and kindness of God are shown towards all creation, but especially towards people. They come ultimately, all good things they believe come ultimately from God. Even if people may not always show them in their behavior towards one another, God is merciful. They also believe God is holy. God is thought to be holy and pure. He cannot and does not do anything wrong or evil. He has no fault or failure. So in traditional African society, they would never say God created this disease because he doesn't like these people. They would never say that. God can only do good. Or this hurricane came and destroyed these people because God don't like them. God is only good. They also believe God is limitless. Although God is present everywhere, they believe that he has no limit. He's both far and near. He is both beyond and within. So traditional African religious belief didn't put God up there and man down here. It put God everywhere. Outside and inside, internal and external. In African belief, there is neither time nor space between people and God Just as there's neither time nor space in which God is absent. This is a difficult idea to grasp, but African people seem to have thought it out. Some of them say God is the Ancient of Days. This means that he's older than the oldest of the very first day of creation. Therefore, he is beyond time, and yet he is within time. He is the limitless one who fills every space. In Sierra Leone, they have a saying, one of God's names is the High Up One, while in Zambia, he is called the Besetting One. The first of these two names speak about God's distance from all things, and the second one speaks about his nearness to all things. So God is simultaneously far and near. Thus, God cannot be exhausted by human imagination. They also say that God is self-existent. While God has made all things, he himself is not made. He exists on his own. He is self-existent. They also believe that God is the first cause. God is the first and the last cause, so he is called the original source, the beginner of all things. Other people call him simply the beginner, the first cause. They also believe God is spirit. Another belief about the nature of God is that he is spirit, invisible and everlasting. They call him the great spirit, the fathomless spirit, the ever-present spirit, or the God of the wind or breath. They also believe God never changes. Some people in Kenya say God is the same today as he was yesterday. Y'all thought Southern Baptists made that saying, but it came from Kenya. The Pygmies say God never dies, only men do. In Zaire, they say he has many sons. He is the eternal one. In Nigeria, the people say that God has ever heard about, nobody has ever heard about the death of God because God never dies. They also believe God is unknowable. Above all, it is believed that God cannot be explained and cannot be fully known. So they have names like unexplainable, unknown, marvel of marvels. God is only God, no more and no less. Okay, so those are some traditional beliefs about God. So the point I was making here is that most of what we believe comes from traditional African religious belief, but we just haven't been taught that. So the African concept held that God is good all the time, God can do no evil, God is everywhere, near and far simultaneously, God is within and without simultaneously, God is all-knowing, all-seeing, all-wise, all-powerful, all of those things that we say today in traditional churches. He's omnipotent, he's omniscient, he's, what's the other one? Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. All those things are traditional African religious beliefs. The concept of God in biblical times, we talked about animism and how in the Bible they started out polytheistic and they became monotheistic. And we could look at the creation story and see how they started talking about God as we. And then in chapter 2, they talked about God as one. So those creation stories, you got to remember that for thousands of years, the only way people understood life was through their oral expression. There was no language to write down until thousands of years after these ideas had already been permeated within culture and within society. and within the human psyche and passed down. So the real religious concepts come from those ancient stories that we call myths and legends.